Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what's going on? Welcome to a huge video because we're going to preview the Socceroos versus the France game, which at the point of recording this, and hopefully when you're watching this, it's going to happen tomorrow at 6 a.m. here in Melbourne time. I cannot wait. I tell you, I've been buzzing through it, and I've got some interesting, controversial little calls as well. So if you do enjoy it, and if you think Australia's going to win, like, subscribe, do that business, support the channel, follow the channel. We're going to have plenty of World Cup content coming out your way soon. So just before we do get into that, 6 a.m. tomorrow, Ultra Football. I'll do the Ultra Sud podcast for them as well, so check it out if you're in Melbourne. Just check it out. We've got the live site for the game, so you can go watch that as well. I'll be there, so come say hi, do that business too. But I'm going to go run through a little bit of a preview of how I think Australia can, maybe why they will, beat France tomorrow morning. Now, France, we know they're a little bit injury hit, France, and we know that, and that's well documented. But obviously, a France team like that is still so strong. They're probably going into what people are saying like the World Cup with the weakest midfield, like in a very long time. And you look at the players that are probably still going to play in that midfield, and you look at Tchouaméni, Rabiot, who's actually been performing quite solidly recently for Juventus. I mean, you're looking at players that are still arguably some of the best in the world compared to other countries' midfields. And you look at that Tchouaméni, and yes, I agree that it's probably not their best midfield. And obviously when you've got the likes of Pogba and Kante, which usually fill in those roles, yes, it's obviously a pretty big downgrade. But Tchouaméni, I think, is going to be instrumental for Real Madrid's chances of winning Champions League, and it's going to be the future. I think in the next World Cup, I think we're going to look at Tchouaméni in that midfield as one of the real stars. Benzema as well, it's a huge injury. Raphael Varane, whether he's fit to play, whether he's fit to start this first game, I think it's still a little bit up in the air. But from what we're hearing, Didier Deschamps and stuff saying that I think he can be considered in selection. It's going to be interesting to see. And we know the past history and the record for the France teams and for the champion teams. You know, a lot of the champion teams, they don't get out. For the last five, they crash out of the group stage. I honestly, genuinely believe that France will fall under this same situation. I don't think France are going to get out of the group, and it's not because I think Australia are going to be that good. I think it's just because I think France, it feels like they've got a lot of just aura about them that I don't think it's a little bit concerning. And obviously Benzema, the notion that it's a huge loss. He's arguably the best player in the world right now. You know, Ballon d'Or winner. Obviously, they've got the likes of Mbappe and stuff like that. I actually think they've got to play a little bit of a different. They tend to play the three in the back. I think they might stick to a 4 purely because of no Varane, but maybe because of no Varane, they might look at that aspect and say, you know what, maybe we have to be a little bit better. But I think they're just going to disrespect Australia. In all honesty, I saw the interview with Upamecano yesterday. He said that he couldn't really name anyone from Australia, and Giroud last week said that, you know, I'm not too familiar with many of their players. None of them play really top league, so I'm not too familiar. I think first game, from Australia perspective, we're playing them at the absolute perfect time. We're playing them at a perfect time. First game of the tournament, anything can happen. One thing I can sort of sense from the Socceroos is that it feels like there seems to be a great bond. And I was going to say, like, I tweeted out the other day, I think the Socceroos, I think like the YouTube channel has stepped up quite a bit. I know it's a bit strange. You're probably asking, what are you talking about? But seeing little interviews and little sort of walkabouts and who they're rooming with and stuff like that, personally, I find just helps build a stronger bond and builds a bit of a connection between the fans and the players. I'm not in Qatar. So many other people aren't in Qatar, so we can't really see that. Now we're getting a deeper sort of insight. I love watching the England inside training videos. Those are my favorite videos to watch because you get to see how the boys are reacting around each other. You get to see what the vibe's like in camp. Yeah, so it's obviously edited to what you want to see, but it's more than what I'm probably ever going to see in my life, isn't it? So I think the Socceroos are getting France at a good time. And first game, you know it's huge. You know, 83% of the teams that win their first game end up getting out of the group. And for a Socceroos perspective, they've got a real opportunity. And what, once again, is a very difficult group. Denmark, France, Tunisia. Last World Cup, we had Denmark and France. So we're obviously not unfamiliar with playing against them. But I think the Socceroos generally do have a very good opportunity of even just getting a point against France. And I think every Australian will tell you that if you can ask them and you give Australia fans and the Socceroos players a point against the reigning champions, I think they'd be lying if they said otherwise, that they wouldn't take it. So it's going to be interesting to see. Let me know in the comments down below how you think, I guess, France are going to do in this tournament. I just think from I think obviously Giroud will start up front, who I think is a big threat, but obviously it doesn't really compare to the likes of Benzema and Mbappe. I actually think Mbappe might play maybe as just a little bit behind Giroud or out wide somewhere. I think they might go for Dembele, Mbappe, Griezmann in at the 10, because obviously there's no Christopher and Cuckoo either, and Giroud up front, and like that's still an unbelievable attack. But you look at what it could have been, it's not. It's maybe not as strong. So, and then you look at the defense. Probably they go Upamecano and Kunde, and then Hernandez, and then Pavard. This I know we're talking about a Socceroos team, and I'm going to actually go through my predicted 11 and the lineup that I'd like to see the Socceroos go with heading into tomorrow's game. And maybe there's a couple controversial calls, but you've got. I think it's a perfect opportunity, and it's a perfect time for the Socceroos to really make an absolute statement for themselves on the world stage, and really just go and show what we can do. There's people that don't want to get around us. There's people that don't really want to support, the Socceroos for whatever reason that is. But a game against France, where France are a little bit vulnerable and there's not much to lose because we're not expected to win, now is the perfect time for us to go out and just play them and just show them what we're made of and just really try and do everything we possibly can to walk away with a point or even a win. Because then we do that, we go and play Tunisia on Saturday night, we get a win against Tunisia, which won't be as easy as what I think people are thinking, but then we can go and beat Denmark or get a point against Denmark or probably even lose, and then we get out of the group, which will be awesome. Now, let's focus on the Socceroos a little bit, and we'll dive into the Socceroos. I want you guys to let me know who this striker situation is. It's interesting. I'm going to start from the back to front first. I think Matty Ryan, obviously, he's got that. I know there's the grey wiggle. Redmayne, he's not going to play. He's not good, Redmayne. But I've gone for the back four, and there's been some talk of playing a back three just to shut up shop against a bit of a France, and we know how good they are in the attack. I've gone for back four of Atkinson, Suter, Wright, and Beige. Now, Harry Suter, for me, could be one of the most important players in the Socceroos campaign. And unfortunately for him, he obviously did his ACL and he hasn't played that many minutes. And, he kind of missed the first training session in camp from what I read, from what I heard. But he's been pretty fit, and he played a little bit of minutes for under 23s or under 21s at Stoke City before joining the camp. I think Suter is just is huge, no pun intended. I think he's just a massive player to get and that we need in the team. Suter doesn't play, you're probably looking at a Kyle Rolls. You know who I'm talking about. If not Milos Degenek, if not Thomas Deng. So it's good and bad in a way that I think there's no clear defensive partnership, and there's no clear centre back that should be starting or clear centre back that shouldn't be starting. But at the same time, that can also cause a little bit of angst. They can cause a bit of just confusion because you want to put the best foot forward, and the fact that no one really knows maybe what we're going to go with could make it a little bit interesting. I think Suter and Wright would make a good partnership. They both play at the highest leagues out of the rest of the centre backs. And Bailey Wright brings a bit of experience. Harry Suter obviously brings that strength and I guess the size to the defence as well. And Bailey Wright does the same. But you're looking at Kyle Rose, someone who's great with his feet. Thomas Deng is quick, and Degenek as well. He can put in a good challenge. He's a good, hard defender. So I honestly think any of those can rotate. Initially, I didn't have Harry Suter in there because you just don't know how fit he is. You know he hasn't really played that much football, and you're not sure whether Graham Arnold's going to go and take a massive risk straight away and that early on. So, again, that's an interesting one to sort of look out for too. Bailey Wright, I think I mentioned it. As is Beige, I don't think there's really just another left back to come in and really take his spot. Joel King, no thank you. So I think Beige takes it. The midfield now, obviously, I think Graham Arnold came out and said that Hrstić is fit, but he's not fit enough to start the game. He'll be making an appearance off the bench, which is it's important. I think that he plays and that he appears because he's a cracking player. But it's good to say that he is at least fit, because there was a moment where we didn't even think he was probably even going to play in the World Cup. So that's a good sign. I've gone for Moy, Irvine and McGree. And I think that McGree position is going to rotate between Hrstić and McGree as the tournament goes on. Moy obviously sitting as the deeper just because he's great with the ball at his feet. Irvine is an absolute tank. He will run and run for days, and he's great with the ball at his feet as well. And he's got to be that charismatic enigma in that midfield. Jackson Irvine, you can already see through the lenses sort of thing. You can see through the social media. Irvine will be that player for the Socceroos that gives him a bit of extra ticker and that bit of extra fire that we're going to need to dig in and dig out some pretty big results. Riley McGree as well, quality player. He's coming in from good form from Middlesbrough. He was out of the squad. New manager came in. McGree comes in, plays consistent football, scored a belter of a goal before the Socceroos camp. And Riley McGree, another player that's great when he can go forward. He might have to sit a little bit deeper because you've got to expect France to hold a lot of the ball. But I think I like that midfield. I think that midfield three, it's a very, very balanced midfield. Now up front, I think Martin Boyle is a huge, huge loss, and it's a loss that I think is getting quite underestimated by a lot of Socceroos fans and a lot of Australia fans. Martin Boyle usually would jump on that right wing. Unfortunately, he's travelled, he's going to stay at the camp, which I think is good, but his hamstring absolutely given away. So because of that, Marco Tilio's come in to cover his spot. And I think Tilio off the bench, a lot of people were surprised that Tilio wasn't included in the original squad. I think Tilio off the bench, even though sort of come up as a late sort of thing, which can make it feel a little bit interesting of, okay, well then I guess it's clear that I wasn't in your part. But at the same time, it shows that I think he was definitely next option to come in straight away. So I think Tilio off the bench will be useful. I've gone for Mobile and Lecky on both sides with Mitch Duke up front. Now, this striker position is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting one to see who's going to really stick to the striker and who's going to stay up front and who's going to be, I guess, that solid player that Arnold puts his faith in. I think Duke will get the nod. I want to see McLaren, even Cummings. But I think McLaren, we know, is a little bit shorter, obviously, compared to other strikers, and he likes to get in behind. I think against France, even though they've got quite a lot of injuries, we're not going to be able to play in behind them. Duke brings a bit of a bigger body, brings a bit more size, and he can hold the ball up nice and well. Hold the ball up nicely to play it to a Mobile or to a Lecky. I think that's going to be the way to go. Arnold tends to go for Duke to be able to crash the pack as well, and I think Duke will get the nod because of that. If he can get on the score sheet, even better, because I think we will win. Or do I? Stick around. But I think Duke will get the nod ahead the other strikers. And maybe in the end, come dog. Mate, all I want is a come dog goal. That is all I want. But I think Lecky on the left brings that experience, brings a bit of intelligence as well, and Mobile on the right. And those two, I think, will interchange as well. So that's a starting 11 that I think we will go for. Is it our best starting 11 that I think we'll have? I probably think so. I think, but I personally would change Duke for McLaren. I think Tunisia, I'd go McLaren. I think McLaren can give you a bit of run and carry as well. But I think the midfield's superb. I think the two centre backs. I mean, it could be like probably the best centre back partnership we've got. And then Atkinson on the right brings a bit of attackingness too. I think it's a good little setup. So let me know in the comments down below, Aussie fans, are you confident? If there's any French fans as well, what do you think? Because there's a bit of talk about France. They're saying that this and that. We're not going to, we tend to see the big European giants not really respect, I guess, the Asian countries or just the lower sort of ranked nationalities in games like this, and this is where it happens. So I generally do think the Socceroos can cause a really, really big upset, and I'm absolutely buzzing to see it. I'm going to go and say Socceroos win 2-1. I think we'll get a penalty. I think we'll go 1-1, and then we'll go and score one. I think 75th, 80th minute. So I'm super excited to see what's going to happen. It's going to be cool that Ultra Football, the live site there, the pitch is huge. Where we film the podcast, it's now turned into like a whole live site. So it's pretty cool. So if you are keen, check out ultrafootball.com. Check out that link as well. So I'm buzzing to see it. Thanks for watching. Come on the Socceroos. Plenty of Socceroos content and World Cup content coming your way. So if you've got any ideas, let me know down below, and we'll see you guys there. Come on the Socceroos. Come on. Let's go.